What's up, everybody? I'm Mckenty. This is my second channel, and this is your home for my Twitch highlights and my podcast. So if you like this and you want to see more of that and you want to join the live streams, there's a link to that in the description of this video. And with that out of the way, let's talk about emo. How do we feel about that? Want to talk about emo? Here's kind of the context for it. I was talking to a friend of mine who is in the artist management and kind of talent booking kind of business. He's done a lot of festivals and stuff in kind of the rap world, but he is an emo kid. His prediction, which I agree with, is that we're kind of on the cusp of like a new wave of alternative rock. A lot of the emerging artists of this generation are alternative rock or close to it. Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, MGK as a couple examples. His thesis is that people are tired of thug rap, you know, the Roddy Riches and stuff of the world and whatever else, Future and, you know, all that kind of stuff. They're not going to go away. Their careers aren't going to disappear or anything like that. But I think he might be right. For one, that sound has just been around for a long time, and maybe people are getting tired of it. I like it, but a lot of it sounds kind of samey. And anytime a genre gets to the point where you're like, it all kind of sounds the same, that's the sign, I think, that there's a changing of the guard coming. He thinks that alternative rock is going to be kind of the next big thing, and I think he might be right. It is very different in every way, like culturally different. It sounds different, and as the pendulum swings to one side, then you know that it's going to swing equally hard back to the other side. So I think he might be right. With that in mind, I thought it might be fun to just kind of go through a list of who some of these people are that are currently big players in that genre, the current most important people in the scene, and guess at what the future holds for these people. I don't know if this person is in the chat, but it was actually inspired by this person. Here is what he said. I think the new fronts of modern emo and alt culture are Billie Eilish, Yungblud, Waterparks, MGK, Lil Huddy, and Jaden. So I retweeted it and asked for some suggestions. There's some good ones. Let's go down his list first. You're here. Okay, there we go. Michael Lloyd 77. He's here. So thank you. This segment is inspired by you. This one goes out to you, buddy. So let's go down the list. First of all, Billie Eilish. I would for sure say you have to include her in this, even though it's interesting until the most recent song she put out that I talked about last week on Twitch. I forget the name. Happier Than Ever. Is that it? Until that, you know, her music didn't really sound like rock, but she has always had that kind of alternative rock sort of vibe, in the sense that, you know, you think the kids who would have been into My Chemical Romance or Paramore in 2007 are into Billie Eilish now. It's the same sort of energy. And to me, that's the main heading to think about with all of this, is that rock and alternative is not a sound. It's like a culture and a vibe and a mood. I know some people don't like that. They think that it has to have loud guitars and acoustic drums and stuff like that. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's about the culture and the vibe more so than it is the actual sound. And Billie Eilish most definitely defines that. And obviously she's a huge star, one of the very biggest stars of this generation. So I think, you know, as of now, if I had to pick one person as the leader of modern emo and alternative culture, I would say Billie Eilish. Maybe less so emo and alternative culture. I would say she is the number one, in my opinion. The second name that came up there was Yungblud. So if anybody's not familiar, I mean, we all know who Billie Eilish is, but maybe we don't know who Yungblud is. This is my favorite Yungblud song. That's Yungblud. He is British, and, you know, some people call him a rapper, but I think, like I said earlier, I think we live in a world now where artists are really able to hop between multiple genres and nobody cares. You know, you could do a rap song, a rock song, a pop song. I think that's the world we live in now, that artists are not bound by any one genre, and Yungblud is an example of that. But the one thing that carries through in all his music is like his energy and his vibe and his look. You know, he looks like he's straight out of 2008. I don't think he's anywhere close to Billie in terms of, you know, numbers or anything like that. But definitely like what he's doing. He's not going to be the biggest star, I don't think. I mean, it could happen, but I do think that he's got a bright future ahead of him. Seems like he's got his head on straight. The next name that came up is Waterparks. I've known these guys for a long time, since they were like a local band. I did a podcast with Austin that's really good, where we talk about like how they came up. And again, I knew them as a local band, And then I was like, oh, they got signed. And then it was like, oh, they're on the cover of Alternative Press every fucking month. Wow, nice job, guys. They are an important part of this generation as far as, with teen kids. But I don't think that they have hit that level of success yet where I would call them like a breakout. This is my favorite Waterparks song. Austin's a really smart guy, by the way. Listen to the podcast I did with him. If you haven't, he is a really sharp guy.
I just cried into a shirt I could never afford last year.
Austin writes all this shit too. This is not like some producer handing them all this.
Cool shirts, I like cold rings. I want a big house, but I'm
it's a great chorus. Yeah, big fan of Waterparks, big fan of Austin. I would love it if they, became the next Fall Out Boy. But so far, I feel like if that was going to happen, it would have happened by now. But they'll, I think, again, be able to stick around as long as they want and continue to have a career because, they're talented. Austin is smart and works hard. The other guys in the band probably do too. I don't know them. The future is bright for Waterparks, but I would say Billie Eilish is, this tier. Yungblud is this tier, and Waterparks is probably the third tier. No disrespect to them again, but that's just how I see things. MGK, obviously, we all, if you're watching this, then you know all about MGK. #1 record, continues to just get in headlines over and over and over again. He's up there with Billie Eilish, I would say, as far as mainstream prominence. I think I don't love his music. I think it's fine. I don't love it. I don't think that he, as a human, can be, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. I don't think that MGK can be what Billie Eilish or Yungblud or even Austin from Waterparks can be because, he's sort of just more of a self-centered, I guess, douchey person. MGK is in this for himself. That's his thing. Whether you think that's, good or bad or whatever, I think the people that really transcend, especially in emo and alternative culture, like if you look at Gerard Way, or Haley, it's really about being a champion for people that feel like they don't have a tribe, that feel like they don't have somewhere that they belong. MGK is just not that guy. MGK is in this for himself and nobody else, and that's fine. But I do think that will limit his potential to be like sort of this timeless icon in the way that Billie Eilish will, I think. But he is doing big things for the genre, obviously putting up the numbers, and you can't argue with that. I don't think he's going to have the kind of legacy that they do, though. No matter how many records he sells, I think people don't have that same kind of emotional connection to him, so I don't think he'll have that same sort of legacy. Next up, we have Lil Huddy and Jaden. I'm going to talk about them together, even though they're two separate people. Basically, these are both TikTokers who started making pop punk and are putting up some pretty big numbers. I think Jaden is better than Lil Huddy. Let's listen to him. This is his new song, which I have not heard, but you can see 1 million views in 6 days. Those are pretty solid numbers. 12 million views in 3 months, 10 million in 6 months. He's putting up real numbers.
I am a broken record. You are my missing piece. Say that I want you to leave, but
it looks like he's like face tuned or something. It's weird. Got Iann Diorr in here too. This is another good example of what I'm talking about as far as artists being genre agnostic or genre fluid. You've got Iann Diorr, Travis Barker, Tyson Ritter on this. Is it a pop song? Is it a rock song? Is it a rap song? All of the above, I would say. Using an Android phone? Oh, guarantee you that's a paid placement because there's no fucking way anyone's going to use this weird Motorola Android phone in a video like this unless they got paid for it. I think Lil Huddy is all right. I don't know that he'll have like a huge career ahead of him. I would say that he might be like a 5 Seconds of Summer type thing where, based on the sort of fangirl factor, he could put up some decent numbers and, the music's fine. I doubt he wrote this. Somebody probably wrote it for him. I don't think that he's going to have some big future ahead of him, but, respect. I do think it helps the genre. Again, whether you like it or not, it is, rock adjacent at least. Now, Jaden, I think his music is quite a bit better than Lil Huddy's. It seems like he takes this more seriously. I think he's edgier and has more potential. Yeah, this is is better for sure. This kid is signed to DTA Records, which is Travis Barker's label. He does that with Johnny Minardi, who's a friend of mine that has worked for Elektra for a million years and stuff, and worked at Fueled by Ramen and everything. One of the smartest, best guys in the industry. I think with, Travis and Johnny behind him, that does a lot for it. I think he has a lot more potential to stick around and have kind of a legitimate career. I mean, not to say that Lil Huddy can't have a legitimate career, but you know what I mean? It feels a little forced when Lil Huddy does it. It feels like he's acting a little bit. I think with Jaden, it feels natural. So will he be as big as MGK? I don't know, but I see potential with him. He certainly could. So that's the list that he had, but I retweeted this and I said, hey, who else should be on here? And we got some other ones. I'm just going to kind of go down these in order. Travis Barker for sure. Well, Travis Barker is obviously a very important part of this, but he's my age. He's older than me, so he's part of the older generation. Kennyhoopla is another artist that comes up quite a lot. Jarrett's spamming Kennyhoopla in the chat all day today. This is my favorite Kennyhoopla. Hollywood sucks. Hollywood does suck.
I think you've got the wrong number. You are not fucking Jesus. He hates LA. It's not my fault.
This is a great song. So here's what I think about Kennyhoopla. I think his music is fantastic. He seems like a cool guy. As of now, he is not big enough to kind of make a dent in the mainstream. But what I've noticed is that the core fans, like core pop punk fans, they fucking love this kid. They punish me about him all the time. Anytime I mention pop punk, it's always Kennyhoopla, Kennyhoopla, Kennyhoopla. And that's cool. I understand why. He's very good. So will he ever be, MGK or Billie Eilish? Probably not. I don't think he necessarily wants to be either. But I think that he is definitely resonating with the core fans, and there's a lot to be said for that. So I think he does have a bright future ahead of him. Olivia Rodrigo. So I've talked about her quite a bit. I think it's too early to say what's going to happen with her. She's obviously doing super well right now with driver's license and Good For You and everything. I think she is doing a lot for the culture, even though I don't think she really knows. She's too young to really have roots in the culture, and that's okay. Getting as popular as she is with her music, I think is doing a lot for the culture because the rising tide lifts all boats. The question is what happens from here. So she could go on to become super, super, super mega famous. She could be the next Lady Gaga. And maybe this first album, which I think is good, I think everyone would agree with that. Maybe she goes on to put out the best music in the world, and we're like, holy shit, Olivia Rodrigo is, this incredible transformational generational star. Or maybe she just kind of goes away and we're like, oh, hey, remember Olivia Rodrigo? That album was not too bad. We don't know, too early to say. Mod's son, again, I've talked about him quite a bit, but I'll talk about him again because he's a cool guy. I did a podcast with him. It's probably my favorite podcast I've ever done. Let's listen to, I like this song. Let's listen to this.
I hope you choke on every lie you said to me. And now you'll never come around me. I know you wish you never found me. What goes around.
It's actually a sponsor me video. Yeah, so I like his music quite a bit. He would probably be on the same tier as Yungblud to me now. Mainstream-ish, not anywhere near Billie Eilish, of course, because who is? Not quite at that MGK level, but he has done songs with MGK. I think there's still potential for him to have some sort of breakthrough hit, but he hasn't had it yet. That said, he's been doing music for a long time. He's going to be doing music forever. I mean, that's just in his blood. So, yeah, I think he's going to be part of this for sure. And Iann Diorr, we just saw him as a guest in whatever video that was. He has, stuff like this that's, definitely more on the rock side.
I've been losing my mind trying to figure it out.
Yeah, 35 million views in a year. It's no joke. So definitely on the more pop side of things, but I think it's a good song. Mood with 24 Gate Golden was a fucking huge song. 272 million views. He's the feature on that, but still, he has had some mainstream success. I think it really kind of depends where he wants to go with this from here. Does he really want to double down on the sort of alternative thing, or does he want to go more pop or rap? That's kind of up to him, but I think he's really good. Chase Atlantic's pretty good. They look like an SNL skit, but I actually like the music. Again, more on the pop rap kind of thing. Maggie Lindemann, that's another name here that I think warrants a mention. I don't know a ton about her. The music is more on the pop side of things, but she's got that aesthetic. She's, you know, alternative adjacent, I would say. Yeah, here we go. She is very mainstream. I guess with a lot of these artists, my question is, how much do they want to lead into the alternative thing? I wouldn't say that right now. I would say she's sort of like playing with it. And if she wants to go further into that, like Post Malone has been doing, then she might be part of this. But as of now, I would say she's just like alternative adjacent. Poor Stacy. It's another one of these names that comes up a lot. And I think he's very talented. I think he's not big enough. You know, he's sort of on that same tier, you know, the third tier along with Kennyhoopla, I would say. He sounds more like post-punk to me. This is like, you know, Joy Division-ish. It's not for me, but I think he's very good at it. The Punishers definitely like him. So again, I think he's doing great with that core fan base. Spirit Box has had a huge rise real fast, especially with the Limp Bizkit tour. Spirit Box, great band. Really like them a lot, but definitely not anywhere nearly big enough to really be considered to be moving the needle for alternative culture in general. I think they certainly might, but as of now, they haven't. Just too new. Halsey, I would definitely put in this conversation. I played the snippet before of her new like stoner metal song that she's doing with Trent Reznor. Sounds like Electric Wizard or something. She's definitely part of this conversation. Her voice is just perfect for like alternative music. I would love to hear her do like an alternative rock album. I think she would do an incredible. Maybe that is what she's doing in Trent Reznor. She would be perfect for that, and her vibe. And I mean, if she wants to, she will be up there with Billie Eilish in terms of influence on alternative culture. It just depends how much she wants to lean into being alternative, I guess. Scarlord, you know, yeah, same on that third tier with poor Stacy and Kennyhoopla. He's just not big enough to be really moving the needle like that. Willow is a name that came up a couple times, as it should. Too early to say with Willow. I do think her music is good, and she, you know, certainly comes from a family that understands showbiz as well as anybody. So if she has the talent, I think it just kind of depends on how much she wants to do this. Meet Me at the Altar is a name that comes up a lot. They're definitely not big enough. People do love them. And I think they're a really good band, but they're definitely not big enough to be really considered in that conversation. Nothing Nowhere, Point North, Hot Mulligan. I'd put all those on that third tier of really, really good artists that make great music, that are doing very well for themselves, but just not big enough to really move the needle. You can see how many people are saying Kennyhoopla. It's wild how many people are sleeping on Kennyhoopla. Watch 1 or 2 more years, and he'll be at the top. This is what everybody says. We'll see. So yeah, that's the list. I am excited for this. I feel like we're on the cusp of another boom. There's guitar music back in the mainstream. These artists are like big stars that have the potential to, you know, activate audiences in the same way as those big stars did back when mall emo was at its peak with Gerard and Haley and Pete and all those people. You got to have stars with great music, and I think we have that in these artists. My question is, you know, there's no way to know what is going to happen because it depends on a lot of things inside their head that we don't know, but I do think that something big is going to happen here, and I'm excited to see where this goes over the next year or two.